Hello Blazers, welcome to episode 56 of UAB Green and Told. Original air date Monday, October 11th, 2021. Through this podcast, we are able to share stories from members of the UAB community. You can listen to all of our episodes on Spotify and the Apple Podcast app. While you're there, leave a written review. This will help more alumni find the podcast so we can share our stories with more Blazers. I'm Greg Berry, a UAB alum and assistant director in the Office of Alumni Affairs. As a young institution, UAB hasn't had much of a chance to grow the number of legacy families that it has. That's changing. Recently, the UAB National Alumni Society introduced our Growing Up Green and Gold program, which will help more kids become Blazers at a younger age. For the Rigney family, they didn't need that foundation. For them, their UAB legacy and passion was easy to embrace and pass on. Today, we welcome Renita Rigney and Katie Roberts, a mom and daughter entrenched deep in UAB tradition.
I was pretty adamant about UAB and supporting UAB, and I think I raised the kids to be UAB fans.
But the Rigneys gave their children freedom to choose where they went to further their education. As Renita and Katie will share, it just happened that each Rigney child would wind up in the green and gold.
I went to a totally different UAB than my parents and even my siblings who were just a few years older than me went to. And I just got there and I fell even more in love as a student.
The legacy isn't over. It's far from it, especially when you consider a bunch of grandchildren might be the next generation of this family dynasty to attend UAB.
My husband sometimes cheers for the team down the road. And he said their anthem the other day, and my son told him, "No, we don't say that. We say go Blazers." And he's 4. And I just gave him a high five.
It's a family tree that continues to grow as UAB continues to grow. The Rigney Story dates back nearly as long as UAB has been, well, UAB. Today, it consists of 3 kids, their spouses, and 9 grandchildren. But it starts in the 70s when Renita and Doug were undergrads at a young University of Alabama at Birmingham.
We actually met at a Baptist Student Union fall retreat in the fall of 77. And then we were married by June of 1979.
So 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
That had to have been a whirlwind first couple of years for you at UAB.
It was, but it was lots of fun. I don't think we were typical of the students that were on campus back then. Doug was in the student government. We were both in ODK, and neither one of us were in a sorority or fraternity, but we were very involved on campus. We helped build the very first bonfire for our very first homecoming when basketball came to campus that first year. We were actually students when basketball came. So, you know, we were very involved. And I think that has a lot to do with how we look back and see our years. You know, certainly I found it to be very nice because I met my husband there.
You and Doug wound up graduating with bachelor's degrees, but you didn't stop learning and you didn't stop attending UAB. Talk me through this thought process of continuing to go back to school one degree after the next.
I was satisfied with my one, but Doug always wanted to get more degrees. So he eventually, you know, he returned. He actually worked for almost 2 years, well, maybe almost 3 years, because he came back to campus in 83. He graduated in 80 and he returned, got another undergraduate degree, his master's, and his PhD. So he was in school, I think he got his PhD in 89.
It comes a point in most relationships to kind of settle down and start having a family. When you guys started to plan to have the family, did you ever think that you'd kind of be having a UAB family, having a Blazer family?
Not really, but you know, when Doug came back for his master's, we had one baby already. Aaron was born in 1982, and he came back to school in 83. So we did it with one child in tow, and we very quickly had our second child. And there was one time Doug was doing a research project and was working at the School of Engineering, and I went into labor, and I called him, and he said, well, I've got to finish this test. So I actually drove and picked Doug up at the School of Engineering and drove us on to the hospital to have our second child. And then I was pregnant with Katie when Doug graduated. That was her first UAB event, was attending her father's graduation ceremony. He had gotten his degree in 89, but he actually went through the ceremony the end of May of 90, and Katie was born on May 3rd. So we started her out very young.
So what was the Rigney home like? Because most homes are Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, I mean, they're Southeast Conference, right? What was your home like?
UAB all the way.
We were, if we had to pick, we would, one of those other schools, and we always picked Auburn. Of course, Doug was born there. But whenever the kids, they said, wear your school colors, I put mine in green and gold every time and sent them to school. And when people would set up booths and there would be Auburn and Alabama, I'd go, where's UAB? And, people would go, up, here comes that woman. She's going to ask us where the UAB stuff is, because I go, there is another university right here in our town. So I was pretty adamant about UAB and supporting UAB. And I think I raised the kids to be UAB fans.
So, Katie, what is your first UAB memory? Obviously, you don't remember when your dad graduated and earned his PhD, but there has to be another memory that you have in the back of your mind.
I have a lot of memories, but if I was going to say my first memory, and this may just because there's a video of me. There's one of me in a little UAB cheerleading outfit. I'm probably 4, and I'm talking about the Blazer man because we didn't have Blaze yet. And I think I was scared of him. So that is one of the memories that I have, is actually being terrified of our mascot at the time. So I was glad Blaze came along a few years later. But just going to UAB games and everything was part of me growing up. I remember taking friends to football games and basketball games all the time. I did a lot of UAB things growing up. Like I did an engineering summer program there one time. I don't know. I just did so many things. So like when it came my time to choose where I wanted to go to school, I didn't really think about anywhere else. I know that there are plenty of my friends who just, they grew up always knowing they want to go to Auburn. They always want to go to Alabama. I grew up always wanting to go to UAB. And I was going to engineering school, so it was the obvious choice anyways. So for me, UAB was always my top priority when it came to school and activities.
We were on campus with Doug's work stuff. We were there for, games. And then Doug got involved in the National Alumni Society. And so he was on there for several years and then served as president. And then as he was rotating off, I rotated on. So there was this 20-year period where we were involved with events through the alumni then. And so we were all the time going to something. It's almost like our entire social calendar was UAB something, either work or athletics or alumni.
Growing up basically with the National Alumni Society, with your mom and dad, president of the NAS, was it ever in the back of your mind, I kind of want to follow in their footsteps and I want to get involved in that way? Or because you've been on the Young Alumni Council and you've served time and you've dedicated time as volunteering on a board.
I don't know if it ever really crossed my mind to want to be on the Alumni Council or anything like that. I think as a kid, I just was, I liked going to the football and basketball games. Those were what I really liked doing. Mom grew up where you were saying UAB was really young. I think I started right when UAB really made a huge transformation. Because I think the Green opened in 2008. Blazer Hall was brand new. The rec center was brand new. So I went to a totally different UAB than my parents and even my siblings who were just a few years older than me went to. And I just got there and I fell even more in love as a student. And I got involved in a sorority. I was a trailblazer, and that was probably one of my favorite things to do was giving tours to students and being involved in the UAB days. I was on a homecoming committee one year. I helped out with SGA elections, being on election commission. When I graduated, I wanted to continue being involved, and the Young Alumni Council was right there for me to do that. And I've loved every minute of that as well.
Renita, did you and Doug ever push UAB onto the children?
You know, we actually took them to other universities. We did not want to force them to go. You know, we hoped that that was this decision that they would make, but we certainly did not force it on them. You know, Erin went into nursing. She said, why would I go anywhere else? Our UAB's nursing school is ranked in the top 15 in the nation. Our son, he came to UAB probably because his girlfriend was coming to UAB as well, but that's okay. They came, and they're now married. And then Katie, we took her other places as well.
They actually made me apply to other schools, which is kind of funny, but I still wanted UAB.
What was it about UAB that set it apart from others when it came to you, Katie, looking at the other schools?
It felt like home for me. That's just where I always wanted to be. And I didn't live at home, even though my parents were, 20 minutes down the road. I lived on campus. And I honestly felt like being at UAB, I kind of got further away from home than I would have if I had gone to Auburn or Alabama, because all of my high school friends went to one of those schools. And so I made so many more friends by going to UAB where I didn't know as many people going there. But then I also had home down the road. I could see my father's office from my dorm window where he worked every day. But it was definitely a different experience for me, and just something I always wanted to do. It always felt like the right choice for me.
You and your siblings growing up in the 80s and 90s, UAB wasn't the hip thing. I mean, in the 80s, we didn't have a football team. We didn't have a football team until the 90s. What did your friends think of the passion that you guys shared for UAB at the time?
For me, I liked it because I liked having something different than everybody else. And then for my friends, I feel like a lot of my friends kind of got on board with wanting to go to the games and things with me, because it was a totally different experience than going to one of the SEC teams or something like that. But it was kind of unique because I was the only one, but I feel like a lot of them kind of jumped on the bandwagon of it. It's fun to be a UAB fan. They could be an Auburn fan and a UAB fan if they wanted to, and go to those things with me. But I was definitely different. But I think it was something that I like sharing with my friends as well. And I did have some who came. My best friend actually did go to UAB and played on the volleyball team. And she was my roommate my freshman year. And so she has a totally different story as well, being an athlete. And so it was definitely something fun to share with her and with other friends that I had who ended up coming.
So do you think UAB has become more cool?
Oh, yes, definitely.
I do. There's not much left of the UAB that we attended. There's very few buildings. There are a few. So much has changed. And the UAB that Doug and I attended is way different from the UAB my children attended. And I think athletics is a central portion of that. It gives the students something to rally around and for collectively. It just was cooler. And so many of our friends that we made when we were in school they don't look back at UAB the same way that Doug and I do. But whatever it was, it stuck with us.
With the family that you have, Renita, Doug, the 3 kids, spouses, how many degrees are we talking right now?
You know, there's 8 of us. That's our 3 children, their spouses, Doug and I. We're all UAB graduates. And between the 8 of us, there's 14 degrees from UAB. Doug has 4. I have 1. My daughter, Erin, has nursing degree. Her husband, Chase, has a degree in biology. Our son, Cole, has undergraduate business industrial distribution degree and an MBA. His wife, Mandy, has 2 education degrees. And then Katie has her civil engineering and then a master's in environmental engineering. And then her husband also has the industrial distribution degree from the School of Business. So I think we almost hit every stool as well.
I think it's pretty impressive that you remember all of that for 14 degrees.
People have asked me that so many times over the years that I may not get the years right, but I know the degrees.
When the kids started to date and they were looking at potentially marriage, part of the vetting process, hey, you got to join the family. You got to be part of the UAB family too.
I think Katie realized that when she was the last one to marry, that it had to be an UAB, that no Alabama, no Auburn. And my one rule is you come with us to an event, I don't want to see any of those things except green and gold. And they know it.
They know.
Katie, was it hard to find a boyfriend?
Oh, no. I actually didn't meet my husband, though, till I was in graduate school. But he claims that we met in undergrad and that I don't remember it. So he gets mad about that almost every single time. We met through mutual friends that I met in engineering school that he went to high school with. So I guess I may have met him at an event before that, and he didn't catch my eye then.
How many grandchildren?
9. The oldest ones are already talking about wanting to go to UAB.
What kind of stories do you share with the grandkids about UAB and potentially, nudge, nudge, continuing a legacy into the next generation?
They have been coming to sporting events with us since they were babies. So we have indoctrinated them. And I even get onto them now if I see them wearing any schools other than UAB. So they know when they walk in this house what's expected. But I told them it's okay to pull for another team as long as they knew where their priority was. We talk about how I met their grandfather at UAB and how we were there. I think the alumni shared the picture of Doug on their throwback Thursday or something, and it was Doug sitting on top of the first bonfire when we had built it. And I showed it to them and I said, do y'all know who that is? And they looked at it and I said, that's your grandfather. So I got to share the story of building the first bonfire. And I think I even found the yearbook that had that picture in it as well.
Because you still know where all your yearbooks are.
I do. But we talk about it. They see UAB stuff. When I was president, I have a picture in my office. We only had 2 grandchildren, but they were there in their UAB attire. That's one thing I do. I keep my grandchildren in UAB merchandise.
You really have to love hearing the kids, the older grandkids, talk about, you know what, UAB may be in my future. That's got to be kind of neat.
It is. It is.
Out of 9, we should get at least one of them to go to UAB. My daughter was 4 weeks old at her first UAB football game, I think.
Katie, when it comes to raising your family, your kids are younger. What are you going to tell them about UAB? And are you going to kind of encourage them a little extra to come here?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I already do. So same like Mom said, when my son's preschool and stuff had, wear your game colors for the week of football, I put them in UAB stuff. And really, they don't even know anything different. My son has, my husband sometimes cheers for the team down the road. And he said their anthem the other day, and my son told him, no, we don't say that. We say go Blazers. And he's 4. And I just gave him a high five. And it's not anything I've kind of pushed to him. I think he just kind of picks it up that we cheer for UAB and we love the Blazers, and they have a lot of UAB clothes. It's been, handed down from their 7 cousins above them. And my daughter, she's 2, and she loves to do little stunts with my husband in the pool. And every time he holds her up, she goes, go AB, which is UAB, but she doesn't get the U in there. But that's just what she says automatically. So it's already in their heads. I don't think I'm going to have to push too hard for them to love it anymore. And they also they love their cousins, the other 7 children, and going to the games with them. They just automatically assume going to a football game means playing with their cousins, and that's just even added bonus to it. So,
Renita, does it ever get old watching somebody in your family walk across the stage during commencement?
Never. And I thoroughly loved being able to stand there and hand them their UAB pin when they came off that stage. I got to do that, and with their friends.
Is there a family more passionate about UAB than the Rigneys?
I don't think so.
We don't think so. No. There may be some that claim that, but I don't know.
But we would like for there to be. We want it to continue to grow, and that was one thing. The legacy pinning is something new the Alumni Society is doing in the past couple of years. I don't know how long it's been around. It wasn't around when I was a student, so I didn't get to do that. But 4 years ago or so, my father and I did a speech at the legacy pinning, and it was awesome to see how many students there were that were following in their parents' footsteps to come to UAB. And I hope that ceremony continues to grow, and maybe it'll be so big it's going to have to be at the arena in a few years. And that would be great. I love seeing more UAB families being created.
Talk about that legacy pinning ceremony that you did at the Alumni House with your dad. How emotional was it? I mean, it kind of brought it full circle because he started it and you were the most recent.
Yes. So that was a really fun thing to do. And my son was 3 months old, I think, when we did that, I think, or maybe even younger than that. And so he came to it. And so it was really fun. That may have been one of his first UAB events to attend. And so that was a really fun experience to get to talk about my love for UAB with my dad in front of all those other students, and tell them they're not going to regret the decision that they made, that, it was the best decision that I made. And I have my son sitting over, just a few feet from me, and I can't wait to do this pinning with him.
That's Renita Rigney and Katie Roberts. Renita graduated from UAB in 1980 with a bachelor's degree from the School of Nursing. Katie, meanwhile, has 2 degrees from the School of Engineering, earning her BS in Civil Engineering in 2012 and MS in 2013. If we rattled off all of the degrees the entire family owns, we'd be here all day. But seriously, with so many degrees possessed by this family of 8, they definitely know what it means to be a Blazer.
I am so proud to be from UAB, and I love letting people know that UAB is my school. I think it's kind of like, to them, I am synonymous with UAB, and I think that's just a fun way to be. Like, Katie cares about UAB, we will always talk to her about UAB. So I think it's kind of like one of my characteristics. UAB is part of it.
I would agree with that. It's a pride. I'm just so proud of how far UAB has come, and to say that I'm a Blazer kind of sets us apart from a large majority of the people that we are around. And I like that. You know, I like the fact that we didn't go down the well-worn path, and that we are helping to blaze new trails and hopefully laying a foundation that will be inviting for others to come and share in this experience of UAB that we so enjoyed and love and still do.
Be sure to listen into previous episodes of UAB Green and Told. You can find all of them at alumni.uab.edu/greenandtold. Have a story to share? Email me at greenandtold@uab.edu. And also, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for UAB Alumni. And for more information about the Growing Up Green and Gold program, visit our website, alumni.uab.edu/legacy. Thanks for listening, and until next time, go Blazers.